Hi, it's Colin Topping, the Cyber Incident Director for Rolls-Royce, and we have a question from Jay in Gloucester College. What sort of skills and attributes do you look for in employees and apprentices? So I've done a few interviews now over the years, working with Airbus and Hewlett-Packard and now with Rolls-Royce, and I think it doesn't matter what level that someone's coming in as, whether they're looking at joining our apprentice or grad programs, or whether it's an experienced person that's coming in for a more senior role. It's one of the things is I'd like to see that they've at least got some interest in the company that Rolls-Royce currently is, and in the subject that they and the role that they're looking to come into. So it becomes quite apparent early on whether anyone's done a little bit of research. As people come into Rolls-Royce, I don't expect them to have supported us all those years, but if they have an opportunity to come in, I expect them to have done a little bit of research to show that they have they are capable of doing that and understanding the company as well. If you come for an interview with us and you say I love cars, you probably won't get very far, because we don't do the cars. We sold that ages ago, as our website will tell you, but still people say it. And I would probably have said it before I came onto Rolls-Royce, but having looked at the website, it was apparent that we don't do that anymore. So an understanding of the company or the position that you're going to go into, and then it's more than certifications for me. And although it is about previous experience and aligning that with what we're looking for in the job, but far more it's about enthusiasm. It's about the enthusiasm to learn and to evidence that. So many times I've had people say I've got a passion for cyber, and then when you ask them very simple basic questions, that passion doesn't really come out, that they can evidence that they've got that passion and enthusiasm. So if you're going to say it, be able to evidence it as well. I want you to show me something that encourages me to want to invest in you and invest resource. And so that's time, it's possibly money if you're coming in at an entry stage, and we have to invest in courses and mentoring as well, taking people off their role to come and mentor you, which is all part of the process, and we should do it, and we do it quite well. So for us to commit to that, then I need to know that it's going to be time well spent and money well spent as well. But also evidence, if you're coming from school or college or university, just some other interests outside of purely just having a CV of these are my certifications and these are my O levels and A levels and etc. O levels, how old am I? But it's what do you do? What's your interest outside of that? How do I get to see you as a person? So whether that's that you've done part-time work throughout your younger time, or whether you've done some volunteering, or you've raised money for charity by doing some project, or just any interest groups you're involved in, whether that's even gaming groups or sports that you're involved in, or even book clubs that you're part of, just something to give me that understanding that you don't just do what you need to do, and that's it, and then you stop. That you look to do that little bit more, and you're that little bit more interested in stuff. So because when we look to recruit people and bring people in, there's your day job, and there's the stuff that you're expected to do, and then there's always that but do you want to do anything else? Are you off? So I'm doing this today. I don't have to do it. It's not part of my job. So it's showing an interest that you want to help people, advise people, develop yourself, work with colleagues to do that little bit more, to offer that little bit more. It's that value add. And so it is about your GCSEs, and are they called that anymore? Don't know. And all those certifications and qualifications. It is about that. So don't dismiss that, but it's about you as a person. It's about do you fit the team? Can we come in and work with you and help you progress? And that's the most important thing for me.
Hi, my name's Lewis. I'm a test analyst at CGI in Glasgow, and I'm going to be answering the question of how will technology influence art and design in the future? This was a question that was sent in by Meredith. Thank you so much for sending this question in, Meredith. This is such a great question. It's something I'm really interested in personally. Someone who used to work in music and art and works in tech. So I'm going to rephrase your question a little bit. Rather than talking about tech as a whole, I'm going to talk about AI. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I think that AI will be the most transformative technology to our daily life over the next few years. And I wrote I believe here because I'm not an expert in AI, but it's pretty widely held belief in the tech community that AI is a big deal and is here to stay. And the reason for that is it's already being rapidly implemented by large companies and governments as well. We all carry, a phone that has Siri or Cortana or Alexa in our pockets. It's rapidly developing as well. AI is rapidly developing. It's moved on incredibly quickly in the last 20 years compared to the first 50 years that it was being researched. And it's also now highly accessible. There are free libraries available to everyone, available to me or you, if you're interested in getting started learning about AI. So AI art has been around for a while, particularly art which uses machine learning tools like OpenCV, which has been around since 2000. Something that's actually happened quite recently is that artists have been using OpenAI tools to make sort of trippy or creepy or deliberately bad art. There's these YouTube videos where people will put a song into OpenAI jukebox and try and get it to finish the song for them. And the results are usually not very good, but kind of interesting. So in the future, as AI gets better and better, I think it will become less of a novel tool, and we will actually wind up with these full-blown cyborg collaborators that are sort of equal partners with the human in creating a piece. And a really good example of this is Holly Herndon, who's on the left here, rocking some crazy headgear. For her 2019 album Proto, she actually built and trained an AI called Spawn, and Spawn actually composed a lot of the music on her album. And she even credited Spawn on one of the songs as, a featured artist. So it raises the question of what else an AI could co-author with a human. Could they write a book together? Could they write a film, make a film? And could the AI eventually create these things by themselves? And at that point, are they artificial anymore? So flipping over to tech and design, this is obviously me plugging into the matrix over here. I've been learning about low-code development lately, which is a development style in which you essentially tell a piece of software what kind of app you want to make, what you want the app to do, and an AI actually automatically generates code for you. And it's incredibly fast compared to traditional coding. I made a to-do list app, to run on a mobile. And this is something that would probably have taken me 2 or 3 hours, and I did it in, I think, 15-20 minutes instead. It was really, really impressive. A software engineer could regularly publish clean, optimized code, maybe even better code than they could write themselves, and they can do this now without ever actually looking at a line of code, which is crazy stuff. I think both of these examples ask some questions about when did artificial intelligence stop being artificial, and when will we reach that stage? It's not a matter of if anymore, it's really a matter of when. So I got some thoughts at the bottom here. I think these are some questions that I've asked, and I think it would be great for you to ask some questions yourself and raise some questions and do some research. I've got some further reading here that hopefully will send you down the right rabbit holes of AI research, and all the best with learning about AI. Okay, thanks again for this great question. Bye.
To answer Evie's first question, what type of things do I do? So my role as a software developer usually entails a number of key tasks, generally all of them with the same purpose of being able to tell a computer what to do or how to perform a number of tasks. Second question from Joshua from the Dean Academy, who asks, how many people use Google per year? Now, I had to Google this one, but in fact over 1 billion people use Google every single year, and currently around 40,000 search queries are performed every single second, which works out to be about 1.2 trillion searches every year. Quite an impressive number.
Molly, one of your software engineers at Savient, and today I'm going to try my best to answer some of your questions. So the first one we have is, what is something you wish you knew before starting your career? Good question. I guess overall, don't be intimidated. Things generally aren't as difficult as you think. Often, learning things is quite intimidating, but it's never as bad as you think. And once you know stuff, it's pretty easy. So don't worry if you're not technical, you want to learn, and play to your strengths.
So we're really keen and interested in you as a person, your attitude and approach, and how well you'll fit in to our team, what you're interested in, and whether we're right for you. We're very keen to find out and get evidence of your interest in technology and innovation. What's your desire to explore like? Evidence of learning, projects you might work on, even in your own time. And enthusiasm, what do you enjoy? What excites you? Whilst we're interested in you, and the aspects of discussed skills have value, and if you want to be a software engineer, knowledge and practical experience of working with code repos, languages such as JavaScript and Python are hugely advantageous. They're going to really set you off.
An engineer can mitigate DDoS attacks in multiple ways. You should engineer the system to scale up with the volume of traffic it is receiving in order to prevent a service outage. You may also reduce the resources available to other services that may be hosted on the same infrastructure. There are several tools that can be used to automatically detect the pattern of DDoS attack traffic on a network, and a common defense is to drop the traffic into a null route, commonly known as a black hole, before it reaches the target server.
Today I'll be just answering one question, and that's from Melody, and that's how to stop someone hacking into your computer and stealing your data. I think this is a really interesting question, and you can definitely talk about this for hours and hours and hours. However, I think it boils down to 3 main points, and that's get a good antivirus. That will stop 99.99% of viruses and malware entering your computer, allowing someone access. I would definitely suggest getting a good password manager for strong and complicated passwords, so people can't steal your data from accounts. And make sure all your software and your operating system is up to date. They've been updated for a reason. Most of the time, there's either features or there's a massive security bug.
Hi, my name's Katie and I'm from CGI. I'm here to answer some of the questions that you've put to the IT and technology industry. Quinn has asked, how long did it take to make Fortnite? Epic Games teased that they would be developing Fortnite in 2011, but the game was actually released in 2017, so it took 6 years to make from start to finish. Dylan has asked, in Apex Legends, how long did it take to code the abilities? Well, the whole game took around 2 years to make from start to finish and release, but games like Apex Legends and Fortnite get regular patches after release. This means that small updates to the code are pushed out to the users and it updates the game and the gameplay. I play a game called StarCraft 2, which was created by Blizzard. This has similar elements where there are 3 species to choose from, and each team plays completely differently because of the units, skills and abilities they have. This game is also competitive, has a league and is an official esport. Because people learn and develop new ways of playing these games, the developers have to regularly patch the game to ensure it's balanced, as one new strategy could mean that one of these options becomes overpowered compared to the others. A similar process will happen for Apex Legends. So whilst the game took 2 years to be made and released, there is always ongoing development to improve it until the game is no longer supported. Marley asks, how long does it usually take to make a game? Let's start with some examples. Fortnite took 6 years to develop. Apex Legends took 2 years to develop but had a team of over 200 people. Hearthstone took 6 years to develop but it was with a really small team of only 5 people. When Minecraft was originally released, it took 3 years and was made by one person. Since it's been bought by Microsoft and has been developed even further. Journey is an example of an independent game and it was created over 3 years by a team of 18 people. And Among Us was made in 8 months by a team of 8 people. These are all games played on PC or consoles, but what about games you can play on your phone? Pokemon Go was created over 2 years by a massive team. Angry Birds was created over 8 years by a team of 12 people. Plants vs Zombies took 3 years to develop, and Candy Crush Saga took about a year, but they were developing on an existing game. So the time it takes to develop a game from start to finish really depends on the size and complexity of the game you're trying to make, the number of people you have available to you, and the money that you've got to back your project. Some games will also get continual development as they're patched after release. However, don't let this put you off. You don't need to be a huge publishing company with a massive team at your disposal to make a game. There are many one-man band or indie developers out there who make and release games. There are also a number of platforms such as Steam and Xbox Live that support the indie gaming market. There are also loads of tutorials online that show you step by step how to make smaller games such as Pong and Flappy Bird. There are even big title games like Nintendo's Mario Maker that allow you to create your own levels. Playing around with tutorials and tools like this will allow you to learn the basics and offer insight into level design that will allow you to go off and develop your own ideas.
Question: what is the greatest historical advancement in technology? The greatest historical advancement? Who knows? That's a really hard one to actually answer. Though, personally, I do think the developments of the concepts that underpin the scientific method should be there. The scientific method itself has been very important for us, the human race, in actually helping us to actually understand nature and take that knowledge and apply it in essentially our everyday lives in the form of technology, pharmaceuticals, chemical engineering, etc. So yeah, I definitely think that should be up there as an important achievement.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah from NCC Group and I'm a junior security consultant, so I've only just passed probation. Yay! So I've been asked to answer a few of your questions. So the first one that was interesting to me, for definite, is what will be the most interesting technological advancement in the next 10 years? And for me, we look at what technology we've already started to develop. For example, 5G, you might have had this term being thrown around, where mobile devices are now going to be 5G compatible, where they can, where there's increased download speeds. So for example, if you're watching a video or you want to download a video, then this will take much less time than a phone that is using a 4G network. So that's quite exciting, but there are also things such as lower latency, which means that if something needs to send a signal and receive a signal, so the time that takes, it's basically real time. For example, smart cars, they'll need to send and receive a signal really quickly to react to certain hazards or whatever else could be on the roads. And that lower latency is increasing the reliability of these cars and the safety of these cars. So the 5G network here is already really exciting and really beneficial. But the most interesting thing is more devices can be connected to this 5G network, and the sky's the limit to what we can invent and what devices we might make to connect to this network. So we already have smart devices for the home and robotics and smart farming devices, things like that. So in the next 10 years, who knows where we might go with that and what might be connected to this network. So this 5G technology is fundamental to that in my mind. So that would be something worth looking into if you're interested in that kind of technology and different things that can be connected to it. So look into the Internet of Things would be a great place to start. So that's my answer for that question. And the second question I've been asked is, how far would tech need to go to be able to diagnose health issues in the home, for example, like a broken leg? Now, I don't think that we'll be getting mini X-ray machines in the home anytime soon. The rays are extremely strong and extremely dangerous, and hospitals have a whole bunch of protections in place to protect both the staff and the patient when they're being X-rayed. So I don't think that will be a technology introduced to the home, but there are already smart medical devices that are connected to the internet, such as glucose monitors or heart rate monitors, and this can be really great in terms of alerting a patient or a doctor to if their heart rate is getting too high, so it could prevent an oncoming heart attack, for example, or if a patient's glucose levels are getting too high, they can be alerted and they can correct that by eating something or however else they might deal with correcting that, so injecting insulin or something like that. So there are devices out there that already are in use to help prevent any oncoming attacks or oncoming diseases, stuff like that. So definitely worth looking into. It's a huge field. There are tons of medical devices that are being developed and connected to the internet. So interesting to look into. And another question I was asked that is kind of along the same lines is about biotechnology. So for example, will bionic arms become a thing, was the specific question, and I must say my answer isn't exactly that relevant to that, but there was a talk I attended a couple of years ago where we discussed biotechnology, and we were discussing chips being inserted into humans, and more specifically little glass kind of beads that are inserted into them to be able to use them in place of cards. So you might have seen cards that are used to access different offices or go through a door, for example. They will be used to restrict access, or use a chip to buzz in through a gate. Oyster cards are also a good example of that. There's a little chip inside these Oyster cards that you use to swipe, and you can go through a terminal to access a tube. So people are already implementing these little chips to use for day-to-day activities like that, which is really quite interesting. There are some ethics but around that, so definitely look into that. And bionic arms, who knows if they're a thing. They probably already do exist in terms of for patients such as amputee patients. They'll have electronic arms, but really depends what you mean by bionic arms. So have a little Google and see what you can find that's already out there. Which is quite exciting. But in general, cyber is a huge field, and there are many different areas you can go into, so please do feel free to get stuck in.
Hi there, I'm Rob Clark from Gemba Advantage, and I'm going to be answering what is one thing you wish you knew before starting your career. So I'm going to answer it in a little bit of a tricksy way, because I'm going to answer with things that I kind of discovered as I went along. And one of the things that I discovered before I actually started my career was about degree apprenticeships, or sponsored degrees as they were known at the time. And in my opinion, this is the absolute best way to get into the industry and get a real running start into IT and get a degree at the same time while you're doing it. So you can earn a salary, get a degree at the same time, and they're not as unattainable as a lot of people think. If you have a good mindset for it and you're willing to put the work in, then it can be a really, really good way to get into the industry really quickly and come out of it a lot more knowledgeable than a lot of your peers may be with 3, 4, 5 years in the industry already. The other thing that I discovered going kind of into the industry is that it's not necessarily what you know, it's how you learn. So obviously experience is helpful. Experience will really make or break what you can do at the end of the day, but if you're keen to learn and you're keen to pick things up, you can build up that experience very, very quickly. Technology moves so quickly, and keeping up with it is almost impossible at times. Keeping up with all the new technologies coming out there just isn't feasible. However, the principles that technology works on are often quite similar. So if you have a good grasp of the sort of principles and concepts of the technology, it becomes an awful lot easier to kind of keep up with that mindset of technology. And if you're keen to learn, then that's not really a chore, that's just sort of staying with the flow of things and keeping up with them. As an example of what I mean, this big old list here is all of the different kind of application services available within AWS on the left and Microsoft Azure on the right. As you can see, there is no way you are going to be able to learn all of these different technologies and figure them all out. You've only got to pick out the bits that are relevant to you and get an idea of what kind of principles they are and what they might be doing. Once you've learned one or two of them, much like picking up a language, all the others become very similar and very easy to follow. Finally, programming isn't everything. Something that I learned a bit later on, having started my career, is that a lot of people think IT and cybersecurity is all about programming, but it's not. It's just one small aspect in a much larger sort of diverse range of things. You don't have to be a good programmer to be able to succeed in IT. It takes a certain kind of person who wants to sit and write code all day, and some people like that and some people don't. But there is a lot of different range of things that you can be doing in the IT industry, not just programming.
Hi everyone, my name's Maria Whittingham and I'm an early careers recruitment specialist at CGI, looking after our apprentice recruitment in the UK. CGI are one of the world's largest independent IT services firms, and we have over 76,000 people working for us globally, and we have offices nationwide across the UK, in England, Scotland and Wales as well. We offer a range of apprenticeship opportunities, and these are designed for school and college leavers, so they enable you to study towards a qualification whilst working at CGI at the same time. So you really get the best of both worlds by studying at the same time as earning some money and getting valuable work experience. You would join us as an apprentice when you've completed your year 13 or your A-level studies, because all of our apprenticeships are designed as an alternative to traditional university study. To join CGI, you don't need any specific work experience because all of our apprenticeship roles are entry level. So the most important thing really is just having a passion for the IT industry. However, if you do have any work experience or any transferable skills that you've gained through extracurricular activities, for example, then it's always great to include these in your application. We also don't require you to have studied any specific subjects. For our IT-based apprenticeships, it is beneficial if you've studied a STEM subject at school, so things like IT, maths or science, or if you have an interest in computing or programming in your spare time. For our business-based apprenticeships, we don't require you to have any specific knowledge or anything like that. The entry criteria for our degree apprenticeships is 120 UCAS points across 3 A-levels or equivalent, and we also request at least 5 GCSEs at grade C or above. That's above grade 4 on the new grading scale. However, if you haven't quite met this criteria, we'd still encourage you to apply, because there is a section on our application form where you can detail any extenuating circumstances.